Welcome everybody to this week's episode of Embodied Divinity. I have Andre Bland here with me today, and we are going to dive into all aspects of what it means to be an embodied being as a creator and kind of making your way in this world. So very excited to have you here, Andre. Do you want to just start by telling us all a little bit about like who you are and what you do?
Yeah, my name is Andre Bland, as you know. I guess I can start with my first job. I was a child actor growing up. I um have been always involved in fitness. Like I set school records at like every school I went to. Um, Always into games, played a lot of chess, played a lot of card games, like any little strategy game, video games, dodgeball, everything. So, always super active. I got into bodybuilding, was college wrestling, wrestled Division 1. I won a couple junior national shows, won a junior world show, won some pro shows, and got into characters, illustration, some acting, um, business, producing. It's like a pretty good broad background. But otherwise, I am a human.
I love it. I mean, just from following you and kind of seeing these glimpses of your life, it seems like you do so many different things. You're so multifaceted. And I wonder, how do you manage your energy and like your beingness and everything you write about? You seem very solid and grounded and sure, but at the same time, very open and kind of just like open to new experiences. And I wonder, how do you manage all of the different things all the time?
How do I manage? Well, let's talk about how I'm currently managing. I actually have like a couple of business partners, and they help me with my scheduling, staying on track. Uh, I I also manage. I'm going to therapy. I have a therapist that I see like once or twice, once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. Uh, Help like to keep me grounded. Otherwise, I read a lot. I read a whole lot actually. I watch a lot of videos. I love like anytime I start to get really, really stressed out, I always try to find a way to just calm myself, whether it's going and hiking or whether um kayaking. I mean, anything and everything. I like to just have fun, adventure, explore the world.
So I'm going to label you a creative because between your caricatures and your production work and even your work in finance, and I feel like that is all very creative energy. Would you consider yourself a creator?
I would definitely consider myself a creator.
Cool. So how do you kind of bring up all of that creative energy? Because, doing all of the things you do, it sounds like you have a way to balance it and be grounded. But at the same time, it seems like you're using a lot of that creative life force energy each and every day. How do you continue to let that flow for you?
That's a great question, actually. Um, I think like managing different things kind of helps there because like if I was just drawing, I kind of have ADD. I would get bored after a little bit, and it's like I need to do something else, and it's like my mind is always hopping around to different things. So, part of the creative energy is always finding something new to create, and it's like every time I find something new to create that I dedicate my energy to, it's like a work of art, and it builds on itself. So I find the creative energy by a lot of doing and trying new things and meeting new people. And it's like, when I meet new people, even people with different cultures, I like find out a little bit about them, how they do things. And it's like I kind of pull from every single culture and everybody that I learn from to where it's like I'm always evolving.
Hmm. I've noticed that theme in your life. I'm going to sound like a super stalker here, but I promise I'm not. But I've noticed that theme in a lot of the things you do. You talk about the different connections that you've made, the different interviews you've done, the different just random people on the street or the people that you've drawn. And I'm wondering, how do you find a balance between who you are and all of these different energies you're constantly interacting with? Like, how do you not get
Um,
sucked into everybody else's perception of you?
that can be tough actually, but a lot of it is just not getting too sucked into myself. Like as long as I'm constantly pouring out and like trying to help other people and not making everything about me, it's a lot easier not to get sucked into all these different ideas.
So do you have a pretty good rooted understanding of who Andre is and where did that come from?
I do have a pretty good understanding. I would say that it came from like a lot of inner self work. I mean, I take a lot of time just working on myself. Like I've taken a decent amount of time with just uh, some prayer meditation. Um, I I do a lot of breathing exercises. Um, I do a lot of somatic experiencing. Like especially like where it's like touching my face or like hugging myself, just little therapeutic things just to stay grounded and stay in touch with who I am. But also, it's like there's also the mental aspect where it's like, even reading or having discussions with people that know more than me or that are kind of mentors, they keep me in check. So it's like there's several aspects and facets to it all. And it's like, my family keeps me grounded. My mom will keep me in check fast. So it's like if I ever start to like go off on left field, she's gonna be like, Andre. I'm like, okay, mom.
I love that. So let's get a little bit deeper for a minute if we can, if you're
Okay,
willing.
I'm willing.
So, in my experience, I work a lot with hip hop artists and people in the spiritual community who are wanting to better themselves, who are wanting to rise to the occasion and really get that inspirational message out into the world without losing themselves. But almost everyone I've talked to has had this catalyst moment where they've realized like the way that they were going was not in alignment with what they desired. Have you had a moment like that?
Yes,
Go ahead and
I've
tell
had plenty actually. Um, like okay, I have a perfect example. I used to do, like as you know, I mentioned how I did some bodybuilding. It's like when I was doing bodybuilding, I used to do a lot of fitness modeling, and I was always trying to get into the industry and be like a major cover model and stuff. And it's like the more I started getting involved in the industry, the less I felt aligned with myself and who I was. And it's like I didn't like the industry. I didn't like how the people would treat the models. I did There was like a lot of aspects that just felt out of alignment. And not just did it feel out of alignment, but it's like nothing would ever work out. But it's like every time I started to come back to myself and get back in alignment with who I was and what I felt comfortable with, things would flow better. And sometimes would flow in directions I wasn't necessarily going. So, for example, like the more I try to push doing like the modeling and fitness stuff, it's like the less alignment I felt and the less things would work out. But the more I pivoted, like let's say when I pivoted doing characters and illustrations, I didn't expect to actually go that direction. But when I did go that direction, things worked out great. It's like I'm still doing characters, and it's like I love it. The artists that I meet, they're amazing. They've been super helpful and supportive of everything that I've done, even when I'm not really doing it as often as I used to.
I love that. What would you say you're using the word alignment? What does that mean for you? What does that feel like? How would somebody know they're in alignment?
Feel like you can feel it inside. Like, okay, so here's an example. When I'm doing a lot of somatic experiencing, there's a lot of points where it's like expressing where the tension is in my body at the start of session. So it's like sometimes I'll come on the call and it's like my entire body feels calm, but my shoulders are tense. And it's like when I'm in alignment, it's like I get a chill through my entire body. It's like I can feel it. And not just that, but it's like there's a level of joy where it's like you just feel at peace and free, as opposed to where when you're not in alignment, it's like you can't think clearly and nothing is flowing and you're not feeling at peace and you don't have that free joy. So it's like when I know when I'm in alignment because I can feel it inside.
Hmm. Did you have to cultivate this version of you though? Like there's while the number is rising, thank God, of men willing to invest in themselves and do this type of work, it's still kind of rare. And I'm wondering what inspired you to start doing the breath work and the somatic exercises and the deeper inner work and even going to therapy. Like, how did that come about for you?
Let's talk about COVID. I got so I had a lot of codependency issues. But on top of codependency issues, I also was dealing with just being chronically sick. Like I was dealing with irritable bowel syndrome. I was having panic attacks, um, having major sleep issues, throwing up all the time. And I mean, I've gone to hundreds of doctors trying to resolve issues. They give suggestions, they give pills, um, sometimes make dietary changes, but for the most part, it was like a temporary fix. And even if it was a temporary fix, it would solve one thing and then create another problem. Like let's say I took one pill to like relax me with panic attacks, then all of a sudden I would deal with like not being able to stay awake through the day, or I would just feel foggy and not be able to think straight, or like some pills would react with each other where I'd throw up. And I was just like, I don't want to live on pills for my entire life. So I there was a therapist that was referred to me, and she was talking about how a lot of her clients, when they started doing the somatic experiencing, that like their health issues would disappear. So um when she mentioned that, I was like, I'm gonna see how this works for me. Why is there so much noise around me? Um, so I was like, I'm gonna see how this works for me. So I decided that I was gonna try it out, and when I tried it out and I started hiring her, it's like as I started feeling better inside, my body started getting better as well.
I love that. That is so powerful. And your willingness and courage to choose something different that's kind of out of the norm. And it is so easy to just take a pill. It is so easy to just kind of shove it all aside. But I think it's a lot harder than it sounds like even you're giving yourself credit for, is to actually show up and do that kind of work. How long have you been doing the inner work, and what's been the most beneficial thing about it for you?
I've been doing it for I mean I've been doing inner work personally for years now. And, like off and on I've been doing inner work, I mean practically my entire life. But specifically with this one therapist, we've been working together since March. So what is it? August now. It's been several months.
Wow. Why do you continue doing it? What are the benefits besides maybe, like, you seem like you're well put together. It could be a mask, but I don't think it is. So, what would be the benefits, would you say, of doing this? Whether it's a therapist or a mentor or anything, what rewards have you reaped?
The rewards that I've reaped is just how do I word it? Better relationships, better friendships. Like, okay, I'll put it like this. Even on the business front, it's like as I started feeling more at peace inside, things began to flow better in business. So it's like not only did it affect me on a mental and emotional level, but it's impacted me on every area of my life. So I would credit a lot of the inner work with a lot of the success that I've had even in business lately.
Wow, that's really cool. Tell us more about that, because I think inviting that expansion into your life does come with beautiful manifestations. So tell us more about the credit you would give that.
Okay. So let's talk about some of the work I've been doing recently, right? There is a movie that I've been working on for about 2.5 years. And we worked with several investors and investment groups, and nothing would ever work out. And I decided to branch out. And it's like, not only was it branching out, but I moved to LA in October of last year. And on top of moving here, I started the therapy in March and started working with the therapist doing somatic experiencing and like attachment therapy. And while I'm working on this, it's like not only have things improved with the movie, like I brought in almost every one of my friends in on this movie. So that's a plus in itself. But two, it's like then I started getting approached by for a lot more projects. And now we're working on like a lot of big real estate deals. And like I just had a real estate deal where it's getting funded right now. They are currently in the process of transferring the money. And we've been trying to get the deal closed for like almost 4 months. So here we are 4 months later, and it's just flowing like clockwork. And that's just one of many deals. And I mean, overall, it's like as my own inner self has improved, everything else has improved. But this isn't the first time that's happened. Like there's been other points in my life where similar has happened. Like for example, in 2012, I was working with this guy, and he was giving me a bunch of books to read on self help and personal development. And after about 4 or 5 months, it's like everything in my life started flowing just perfectly. So it's like I've noticed a pattern of every time you start to get into alignment, and as you start to work on your own inner peace and so forth, it's like the outer world reflects the inner world.
Mm, yeah, absolutely it does. And it's like the vibration of what we're investing in is what we start to see in our reality. I think that's awesome. I think something that's really interesting about you from what I've noticed is that you have, it almost feels like, and maybe they all come together beautifully, but like these different aspects of your life where you're over here working with investors and you're over here working with production, and then you have like these amazing fun caricatures you do. And I'd love to hear more about that part of your lifestyle, how that came to be and how it makes you feel.
So I started characters in January of 2012. I had a role in a TV sitcom, and I left the show. I left the cast. I ended up moving to Atlanta, and when I was in the Atlanta area, I was doing like celebrity personal training and a lot of bodybuilding stuff. I did a lot of commercial work out there, and like I was kind of talking to somebody slash interested in somebody, and I like completely stopped talking to her when I went and started filming for the show. So I moved back to Virginia for several reasons actually. One, I was like on a little bit of a spiritual journey, and I decided that I wanted to like try to improve that and move back home to learn some things with my family. But two, I also wanted to try to like rekindle things with the lady, which could have been some codependency issues. And three, it's like I was I just felt like I had to leave that area because like inside I felt like there was something that I was supposed to learn when I got back to Virginia. So I ended up moving back to Virginia on a whim. And when I got back to Virginia, it's like the first week I dislocated my shoulder. And it's like, okay, I guess I'm stuck here now because I gotta like get therapy, like rehab, and I need money, and I can't drive with like one arm. I mean, I could, but it's probably a little risky. So I decided to stay in Virginia. And when I went out there, I applied as a caricature artist at Busch Gardens without any experience because I saw an ad in the paper, and they basically hired me on the spot. And when I got hired, they gave me like a 12-hour crash course and said, basically make $100 to get fired. So I had the learning curve was very fast. I had to learn really quickly. I have worked with like all sorts of artists all over the world, and just fine tune things because I'm surrounded by a lot of the best artists, and they've taught me a lot, both indirectly and directly. So like through this, I've worked at concerts, I've worked at fairs, celebrity events, birthday parties, weddings, like anything and everything you can think of. I did an event for Coca-Cola once. I've worked with Paramount, and it's fun. Like the guests are fun. Being able to draw what I want is fun. I'm not really being told what to do or how to do it. Um, Seeing new places is exciting. I like it. I enjoy it. Like I don't. I'm kind of on my way out of characters as far as like a profession, but I don't think I'd ever completely quit characters because like it's helped develop me as a person, and I just love the art form. So yeah.
So a lot of the work that I do is around like inner child healing and self mastery. And I wonder, what would you say that 8-year-old Andre would say about the life you're living right now?
I think the 8-year-old Andre would be proud. Um, I'm not exactly sure that I would have expected to be in the position I'm in right now. But like, here's a perfect example. When I was about 8 years old, I would win the Citizen of the Month contest at my school a lot, and I would always go to these luncheons that would be like citywide luncheons, and they would always ask me like, "What do you want to do when you get older?" And I would always change my answer. Like one time I said, "I want to be an Olympic wrestler." And then another time I was like, I want to be a world champion bodybuilder. And then like another time I'd be like, I want to be an artist. I want to be a zoologist. And it's like I would always just change to another field because I never actually knew what I wanted to do and I had no interest. And I find it really ironic that not only did like I wouldn't say everything, but like half the things I mentioned, I ended up working in those fields or doing it. And then just the fact that I mentioned so many fields and here I am working in so many fields, it's kind of ironic. So I think the 8-year-old me would be very proud.
I love that.
I'm not
So
stuck in a box.
yeah, which is so freeing. And I'm sure it helps with that expansive creative energy that's required for so many of your passions right now.
Thank you.
Yeah. So as we wrap up today, I just want to know if somebody's listening and they're hearing maybe about your life, maybe about your journey. And I mean, it does sound easier said than done, right? I feel like
Yeah.
once we get to that point, it is a lot easier to talk about. What would be your biggest 3 pieces of advice for them?
Build solid relationships. Um, Work on some nervous system regulation and have fun.
Mm,
Don't take life so seriously.
I love that. Thank you for talking to us today, Andre. It's been really fun to get to know more about you, but also just to hear about the way that you're navigating through life and allowing it to be such an incredible experience. And for anybody who wants to know more about Andre, his work, the things that he's doing, or even just following his fun lifestyle, you'll have the links to his social medias below this episode. So thank you again, everybody listening. As always, breathe deep and plan on miracles.